Man, Dexter's supposed to be in New York helping out Harrison, but now he's trying to handle a copyright infringement situation. He was like, I know you lying. Stole my whole flow.
Word for word, bar for bar.
So let's talk about this imposter on this episode called Camera Shy. So he starts out the episode looking for a ride share, one of the your cars, and even though we don't know he's a criminal just yet, he's doing criminal-like things where he's looking for the opportunity. So he's looking and saying, are you my your car? And the guy was like, not unless your name is Natalie, don't roll up over here. And so he moves on to the next one. And it's not until one of the your car drivers says, hey, are you Jack? Where he has an invitation. He's like, oh yeah, that's me. So he hops in his ride. And when they start talking, it's not a great exchange, actually. The guy seems kind of unpleasant as a rider in general. He looks at the driver's name and his last name is Toussaint. So he's like asking questions like, where are you from? And the driver says, I'm from Haiti. And then the passenger was like, well, I was born here. And the tone that he used when he said it, I was like, yeah, something don't seem right about this man. So I was sort of getting an anti-immigrant vibe from him. And then Mr. Toussaint was like, did you enjoy the concert? And he was like, I didn't go to that. I don't like really being around those types of people. He sounded like he was repulsed by the people that went to that show. Now, we don't know the whole target audience of that show, but whoever they were undesirables in his eyes. And the driver tried to play it off. And he was like, oh, they can't all be that bad. And he was like, yeah, they are. You just don't know what it was like back in the day. Then the next thing you hear is a notification, and it's Jack, who was supposed to be in that ride. And he was like, where are you? You're moving farther and farther away. And the driver was like, you're not Jack. By that time, it was way too late because he slid behind the driver and then he used this like sharp wire tool kind of thing to grab his neck really tight. And then he started directing him on where to drive. And in that moment is when he started sharing more information. So it started seeming like he had more of a vendetta against like immigrants or even people from a different wealth class. He sounded like somebody who was left behind in the world. Unfortunately, he ended up decapitating the brother. Now, throughout the episode, you see that Dexter is actually looking out for Harrison from afar. They haven't interacted at all. Harrison doesn't even know he's there. Dexter's just trying to make sure Harrison covered his tracks well for this Ryan situation. So he sneaks into the hotel, tries to get up to Ryan's room. Look, he struggled walking up those stairs, which I appreciate because I was like, how did you get out of the hospital and you don't have any real issues like getting around? You're supposed to be in PT for like 2-3 more weeks. So I'm glad they didn't just heal him all of a sudden because that would have pissed me off. Now, when he finally got up to Ryan's room, he was looking around. He was impressed by the cleanup on Harrison's part. And while he was in the room, the detectives decided to show up because they needed to follow up on some evidence they had just found at the lab. So Dexter was eavesdropping on everything they were talking about. He was thoroughly impressed by the detective. He was like, how dare you be good at your job? That's the last thing that Harrison needs. A good cop. Speaking of Harrison, he's heading over to his friend's house to go watch her son while she takes the test. And while he's walking in the building, Ryan pops up again. He cannot shake this vision of Ryan, which kind of makes him different from Dexter because when Dexter was killing people, he actually had like a release. It felt good to him. When Harrison does it, the people are following him, probably because he doesn't really want to be that person. So he really does need help right now because he's having problems processing what he has done. Now, back at the hotel, you have Dexter kind of processing the fact that his son potentially has his own code developing. Because Ryan wasn't a serial killer, he just happened to be a serial offender who kept slipping through the cracks consistently. It's interesting kind of seeing Dexter like do this tug of war between how he should help Harrison, because on the Harry side of his mind, he's like, you need to be hands-on, make sure he has everything he needs. The Dexter side of his mind is like, listen, I need to let him find his own way. He doesn't really need me. I can just back him up in the shadows. And currently, the Dexter side of the brain is winning because he's still being the shadow. He's retracing Harrison's steps to see how he potentially disposed of Ryan's body. So it leads him down to the kitchen, but when he gets down there, it's super packed. So he had to step out real quick, figure out when the kitchen was closing, and then, wait till it emptied out so he can go in there and do further investigation. Ordered him a couple of cheeseburgers while he waited. And while he was waiting, we had this scene where Angel was talking to the sheriff about Dexter. He was trying to figure out who was Dexter while he was in Iron Lake. Now, I still think Angel is pretending to be a concerned friend. He's still questioning why he left so early. And he even asked the sheriff if he could get notified when Dexter's truck shows up, whether he gets a ticket or towed, anything like that. Just ping him. Now, we get back over to the hotel and the kitchen is finally empty. So Dexter went back in there to examine the space. And of course, he found the spot that Harrison missed. All in all, Harrison did a great job, minus that one spot of blood on the ceiling and the bags not being tied properly, which is why the body parts slid out like they did. What he does not have a good grasp on is these nightmares. They are terrorizing this man. He's being terrorized by the thoughts of him pew-pewing his daddy. And since he couldn't sleep, he decided to hit up his buddy Lance from work and say, hey, you want to go out? So they met up at the job, and while Harrison was getting ready to get in the car, he saw Dexter walking on the sidewalk. And he slick thought it was just a vision because all of his stuff haunts him. But, oh baby, it was your daddy in the flesh. You just didn't know it just yet. It's sort of like Dexter and Angel in the hospital. But Harrison blew that off and got in the car. Meanwhile, Dexter turns around and sees that his vehicle is being towed because he didn't read all these doggone signs. So he ends up having to take a your car. The driver made sure he knew what his name was first, though, which should be a common practice. I feel like people get into like loosey-goosey with stuff like that. You should know who's getting in your car, especially now, because people crazy as hell. So it seemed like a pleasant ride. They were having a really good chat. The driver piqued Dexter's interest, though, when he started talking about this serial killer called the Dark Passenger. And Dexter was like, oh, hell no. I know this person ain't just biting my style. And to be fair, the people named him that. Dexter, you are the Bay Harbor Butcher. You got that from the people. You can't be upset about copyright infringement because you ain't come out here and announced yourself as the Dark Passenger. According to the driver, the Dark Passenger killed 7 people. He just out here knocking heads off and the police don't even have a clue. Meanwhile, you got Harrison over here partying with his buddy. Now he's thinking he's going to run away from his problems, but Ryan just keeps popping up, which shows why he still needs help from his pops, because he's the only person that's going to actually be able to understand what you're going through. He can't talk to any of these other people at work because nobody else knows his troubles. The only person that's going to help you is the person that you're mad at. So Dexter and the driver, they finally get to the impound lot, and they're still talking about this Dark Passenger. And the driver starts talking about one of his friends who had a close encounter with him, almost died, but then got away from him. So now Dexter had the bright idea to become a your car driver, because in his mind, one of them got to go. So the driver said, yeah, I'll send you the link and I'll send you my address because I got this party that I'm throwing. And so he gave Dexter his address before he even gave him his name. Then he eventually told him, hey, my name is Blessing, which is actually a pretty dope name. So I'm trying to figure out what this situation is with Charlie, because there's a guy named Keith that is at the ATM. It has a zero balance. The man was like, I know I had some money in here. Charlie pops up from behind like, what's up, man? He was like, hey, Charlie, what's up, girl? She was like, hey, let's walk and talk outside real quick. So we get outside. He's like, hey, I really appreciate the boss for sliding me that quick 100,000. I really needed this. And to his dismay, Charlie turns around and said, oh, baby, that is not happening. You know the boss don't like requests. Apparently, they closed his account. She said, don't contact us again. But Keith, the Canton clubber, started pleading with her. He was like,
I need that money.
He said, I can bring the boss some great souvenirs. And she was like, oh, you mean like this Inglorious Bastards ass bat that I found in your attic? And he was absolutely appalled at the fact that she went in his house rummaging through his things like that. And Charlie tried to give him an exit. But then he tried to buck up with her and say, well, what if I go to the police or the FBI and tell them what your boss does? And she was like, and tell them that you're a serial killer? Child, please, leave us alone. And as she was walking away, he grabbed her shoulder. And I don't know why he did that, because your aura shouldn't touch my aura. Well, he learned that day because she turned around and put that bat on him like the bear Jew. Now I'm trying to understand his actions because he was clearly working with some dangerous people. Like, why mouth off like that? Let alone touch somebody who's holding a bat that's covered in nails. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of group it is. Is it a group of serial killers? Are they contract killers? It would be crazy if, say, for instance, this group was connected to somebody that Dexter took out in the original series and they know his secret, so they're trying to find him. I guess we'll find out soon. So the next scene we see is Harrison waking up in his truck after that wild night with Lance. He sees this letter from Dexter that was in the glove box, and it says that he just wanted Harrison to be happy. And Harrison is still pissed at his dad, so he balls up that letter. He's trying to get rid of this truck. And that's when he asks Lance, hey, do you want to buy a truck? So I think that truck would actually be the thing that triggered the sheriff's department to actually reach out to Angel and get him to come to New York. Because I think Jim's name is still attached to it, and they don't know Dexter. They do know Jim, though. So back at the Empire Hotel, you have the detectives. They are getting closer and closer to figuring out what's going on with this Ryan case. They're looking at camera footage. They are also talking about the lab results and saying that the rooms all had regular body fluids except for the room that Ryan was in, which means that somebody took extra care to make sure there were no bodily fluids found, most likely blood. And while looking at the camera footage, they noticed that Ryan drugged Shauna off that one drink, so now they want to talk to her. Speaking of talking to, Dexter is just having a ball over at Blessing's party. He is talking to his mama, who is throwing down in the kitchen. He'd met his wife. He met his daughter. He's meeting all kinds of folks, including the guy that got away from the dark passenger. Now, he didn't call the cops due to his immigration status. And this is part of the reason why I think the killer actually targets immigrants, because a lot of them might not be able to speak up because their paperwork ain't quite right. Now, Dexter did ask, can you give me a description of this man? And the man started describing him. And he said, well, he kind of looked like you. He said, if you were a serial killer that wore a hoodie, it could be you. And then Dexter was real slick about it. He's like, well, I don't wear a hoodie. And I was like,
well, girl, got some game.
The driver happened to have a camera in his car, so he was fortunate enough to have the encounter all on video. So he shows the video to Dexter, and you have everything except for the man's face because he's wearing a camera shot hoodie. So before giving the gentleman back his phone, Dexter texted the video to himself for a more thorough review. Now, while talking to Blessing's family, someone asked Dexter, hey, where are you living? He said, man, I live at the hotel. I really haven't had time to go find a place. And Blessing was like, well, we got an apartment downstairs that we can rent to you for a good price. And Dexter went down to check it out. He said, yeah, I'll take it. On top of that, the man already got a new car. I was like, now what kind of money you working with, Dexter? Did you go on a shopping spree down in Miami Metro and start selling bricks? Dexter's cash flow is different. Look, he done already got him a new license with his real name back. He's one step closer to feeling like his old self. So now he's spending more time investigating this dark passenger that he didn't call dark passenger, but the imposter. So Dexter kept examining that video of the dark imposter, and he noticed the logo on that backpack that he was carrying. And he was like, he might work here. Let me go do further research on this. And while he was doing that, Harrison was over at the Empire looking all sketch in front of the police. So now they want to talk to him. He's definitely in need of his dad because Dexter has no problem looking all normal after he done sliced and diced somebody. But Dexter is too busy out here doing a stakeout over at the dark imposter's office. He was waiting for hours until nighttime until he saw Ronald Smith come out that office. And then he started following him. He tried to snap a picture of him, but the hoodie was in full kill mode, so he couldn't even see his face. Then he blocked him from taking a random your car, so he saved somebody's life. And Dexter tried to follow him down into the subway, but he's not in fighting shape. If all it took was him running down the stairs and running into somebody, and it slowed him down like that, oh, he's not ready. Sounds like he should be doing PT with Ra's al Ghul, so he can get back to good form and be the true dark passenger he is. At least he saved the driver. He might have missed Ronald this time, but it won't be that way the whole season. So he's ready to have him on his table right now. He just needs to be patient. He also needs to keep more of an eye on Harrison before he goes down this path trying to chase the dark imposter. And that was pretty much the end of the episode. I really enjoyed this one. I think that Dexter needs to pay more attention to Harrison right now as he heals, because he can actually do more emotionally for Harrison versus hunting down somebody who might be a physical challenge for him. Unless he decides to call in Harrison to tag team with him. And I also want to know how he's going to be able to get to the dark imposter, because literally, if you're a your car driver and you're a white guy, you're not an immigrant, he's probably not going to come to you. He's going to go to the people that he knows are vulnerable. He probably sees himself in you. So that'll be a little tricky for Dex. So what did y'all think of the episode? Did you see anything else worth noting? Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I drop new content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.